All right, so we're diving into some serious drama today, literally.
You could say that.
We've got Dr. Jas von Rathed's list, 50 most popular and prescribed plays in English literature.
Yeah, this is a pretty amazing collection. Not just popular, but plays that have really stuck with us.
Exactly, they've made their mark on theater and beyond. And today, we're going to give you a sense of just how vast and rich these plays are. We're talking about some serious recurring themes and mind-blowing connections.
We're talking about a deep dive, but without having to read all 50 plays yourself, we're aiming to give you those key insights that make you go, oh, I get it.
Think of it as a cheat sheet to sounding super well read and having those juicy details to impress your friends at your next cocktail party.
Because let's be honest, who doesn't love dropping a little Shakespeare knowledge every now and then?
Exactly. Speaking of Shakespeare, Dr. Rathed included 10 of his plays.
10. That's a fifth of the entire list.
It goes to show you just how fundamental he is, a true cornerstone of English drama. And the range within those 10 plays is just incredible. You've got Hamlet, this deeply philosophical tragedy.
Hamlet's not just some indecisive prince. He's wrestling with some really big questions about life, death, the whole point of action when the world feels so messed up.
Right. To be or not to be. It's not just a line, it's an existential crisis playing out on stage.
And it still resonates with us today. We all face those moral dilemmas where there's no easy answer.
Totally. Then you've got Macbeth, this super fast downward spiral driven by ambition and suspicion.
Chilling, the psychological toll of power, the way it can corrupt,
Yeah.
and the supernatural elements, the witches.
It's like a Shakespearean horror movie, and it still gets under your skin.
And then, of course, there's the ultimate love story, Romeo and Juliet.
Timeless tragedy. Two young people in love, but their families hate each other. And fate just seems to have it in for them.
It makes you think about how prejudice and hatred can just tear people apart. It's sadly still relevant today in so many ways.
Definitely. And Othello, that play is just devastating. The jealousy, the manipulation.
So, Iago, he's the puppet master, planting those seeds of doubt and watching it all unfold.
You almost feel sorry for Othello, how easily he falls for Iago's schemes.
It shows how vulnerable we all are to manipulation, especially when it plays on our insecurities.
And then there's King Lear. Oh man, this one's a gut punch. A king who loses everything, his power, his daughters, even his sanity.
It's a brutal portrayal of aging, betrayal, the breakdown of family and society.
And that storm. It's like the universe itself is mirroring Lear's internal chaos.
Definitely. Shakespeare didn't shy away from the darkest parts of human experience.
But he also knew how to make us laugh. We've got some comedies on the list too. A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Ah, pure magic. That enchanted forest, the love triangles, those mischievous fairies.
It's like Shakespeare saying, hey, love can be pretty crazy and unpredictable. Let's have some fun with it.
And the language, so lyrical, so playful. It's a reminder that language can be a source of pure delight.
And Twelfth Night, mistaken identities, disguises, a whole lot of romantic confusion.
And it's all done with such wit and charm. It's a celebration of how chaotic and fun life can be.
Plus, Viola disguised as a man, that's some classic Shakespearean gender bending right there.
Always pushing boundaries, that Shakespeare.
Then there's The Tempest, which often feels like Shakespeare's farewell to the stage.
Yeah, you sense that reflection on power, art, illusion, the whole idea of letting go.
And Caliban, this complex character who's both a victim and a rebel. It raises questions about colonialism, about who gets to tell their story.
The Tempest really stays with you.
The Merchant of Venice, another complex one. Justice, mercy, prejudice. And that character, Shylock, he's still debated today.
Yeah, that famous speech, "Hath not a Jew eyes?" It's a plea for human recognition, for empathy.
It makes you question what justice really means, how prejudice can blind us.
Big questions that Shakespeare was grappling with centuries ago.
And finally, for Shakespeare, we have Julius Caesar. We're in ancient Rome, the world of politics, betrayal, ambition.
It reminds us that the struggle for power, the allure and the danger of it, is a universal human story.
So we've got 10 Shakespeare plays on this list. Love, hate, ambition, revenge, they all pop up again and again across different genres, different settings. What jumps out at you about this enduring appeal? What keeps us coming back to Shakespeare?
It's his ability to connect with the core of human experience. No matter the time period, no matter the language, we understand these emotions, these struggles. His characters feel so real, so relatable.
Agreed. Now, moving beyond Shakespeare, let's head into the Restoration period and the 18th century. We see a real shift in comedic styles with plays like The Way of the World by William Congreve.
Ah, The Way of the World. It's a prime example of a comedy of manners.
So for those who haven't brushed up on their theater history, what exactly is a comedy of manners?
Well, it's a type of comedy that pokes fun at the social behaviors, those little rules and rituals of the upper class. Think courtship, marriage, all that jazz.
And Congreve was a master of this. His dialogue is full of wit, those sharp, clever lines that just make you chuckle.
It's almost like a verbal fencing match. The characters are constantly one-upping each other with their wit and their insults.
It's a window into a society that really valued being clever and sophisticated.
Appearance was everything. But underneath it all, Congreve is also exposing the hypocrisy and the silliness of it all.
And then there's She Stoops to Conquer by Oliver Goldsmith. This one's more lighthearted, more slapstick.
Definitely. It's all about misunderstandings, mistaken identities, social awkwardness, a bit more farcical.
You can see the shift in comedic sensibilities. It's still a critique of society, but it's gentler, more playful.
Goldsmith's characters are more lovable, even when they're making fools of themselves.
And then we head into the 19th century, and social commentary takes center stage.
Enter Henrik Ibsen.
The man who made audiences gasp. And A Doll's House, this play was a bomb dropped on the Victorian stage.
Oh, absolutely. Nora, this seemingly ordinary housewife, she has this awakening. She realizes she's trapped in a life that's not her own.
And that ending, that slam, heard around the world.
She walks out. She leaves her husband, her children. It was a scandal.
It was a revolution. It challenged everything about traditional marriage roles, about what it meant to be a woman in that society.
It's about the individual's right to self-discovery, to break free from societal expectations. And that message still resonates with us today.
Big time. And Ibsen keeps pushing the boundaries with Hedda Gabler.
Hedda, this brilliant but deeply frustrated woman, she's trapped in a marriage that's stifling her, both intellectually and emotionally.
She's manipulative, destructive, but you also kind of understand her desperation.
It's a critique of the limited options available to women in that time, and how that can lead to some really tragic outcomes.
It's amazing to think how these plays spark conversations about gender roles and societal expectations that are still going on today.
Ibsen was way ahead of his time.
And then, at the turn of the century, get the brilliant wit and satire of Oscar Wilde with The Importance of Being Earnest.
Ah, Wilde, the master of wordplay.
This play is just pure fun. It skewers Victorian society's obsession with appearances, with being earnest.
But it's not just fluff. Underneath all the witty banter, Wilde is making some pretty sharp observations about class, about hypocrisy, about the shallowness of society.
It's like he's saying, let's laugh at ourselves, at our own silly rules and rituals.
And the dialogue is just genius. It's quotable line after quotable line.
It's interesting to compare Wilde's approach to Ibsen. They're both engaging with society, but in such different ways.
Absolutely. Ibsen is more direct, more serious in his critique. Wilde uses humor, satire to expose the absurdity of it all.
Two sides of the same coin. Now let's leap into the 20th century where theater gets even more experimental. We've got George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion.
You probably know it better as My Fair Lady.
Right, that classic musical adaptation. But the play itself delves into some really interesting themes. Class, identity, the power of language.
Shaw was a social commentator. He used theater to explore issues of inequality, and Pygmalion is a perfect example.
It's about this flower girl, Eliza Doolittle, who's transformed into a lady by a professor who teaches her to speak properly.
It makes you think about how much our accents, our speech patterns, influence how others perceive us.
And the ethical questions it raises. Is it okay to try to mold someone into something they're not?
Shaw definitely wasn't afraid to make audiences think.
Then there's Arthur Miller. His play The Crucible, set during the Salem witch trials, is a powerful allegory for the McCarthy era.
Yeah, the paranoia, the accusations, the fear of being labeled a communist. Miller was drawing parallels between the past and his own present.
It's about mass hysteria, the abuse of power, and the courage to stand up for what you believe in, even when everyone else is against you.
John Proctor, the protagonist, he chooses integrity over conformity, even if it costs him his life.
It's a reminder that history can repeat itself, and we have to be vigilant about protecting individual rights and freedom of thought.
Very relevant today, in a time when misinformation and fear can spread so quickly.
And Miller's Death of a Salesman is another masterpiece. It's a critique of the American dream, the relentless pressure to succeed no matter the cost.
Willy Loman, this tragic figure clinging to a vision of success that's slipping away. He represents so many people who are struggling to find their place in a changing world.
It's a play that really gets under your skin. You feel for Willie, even as you see the flaws in his thinking.
It's a reminder to question our values, to think about what truly matters in life.
Then we have Tennessee Williams, who was a master of exploring the inner lives of his characters, their vulnerabilities, their desires.
A Streetcar Named Desire, The Glass Menagerie, these plays are so emotionally charged.
Blanche Dubois, this faded Southern belle clinging to her illusions. It's a heartbreaking portrayal of mental fragility of a woman who's been broken by life.
And The Glass Menagerie, with its delicate symbolism, the glass animals representing the fragility of memory and dreams.
Williams had this amazing ability to create characters that are both flawed and deeply sympathetic. You can't help but feel for them, even when they're making bad choices.
And his language is so poetic, so evocative, it really draws you into their world.
And then theater takes a wild turn with the theater of the absurd. Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot is a prime example.
Oh, Godot. This play is a challenge. It's about two men waiting for someone who never arrives.
It's about the meaninglessness of existence, the absurdity of it all.
It's existentialism on stage. It rejects traditional plot, traditional characters. It's about the human condition in a universe that seems to have no purpose.
It's not for everyone, but it's definitely a play that makes you think about life's big questions.
It asks, what are we doing here? What's the point of it all?
And Tom Stoppard's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is another mind-bender. It takes two minor characters from Hamlet and puts them center stage.
It's like Shakespeare meets existentialism. They're trapped in this absurd situation, playing out their roles in a story they don't understand.
It's meta-theatrical, it's funny, it's thought-provoking.
It makes you think about fate, free will, the whole idea of being a character in someone else's story.
So these shifts in dramatic style, from realism to absurdism, what did they tell us about how our view of the world was changing?
It reflects a growing sense of uncertainty, a questioning of traditional values and beliefs. The world wars, the rise of existentialism, these events had a profound impact on art and literature.
Theater became a space to explore the anxieties and the absurdities of modern life.
It was a way to grapple with the big questions that were suddenly very real and very urgent.
Now, to give you a sense of just how wide-ranging this list is, let's briefly touch on some other key figures and their contributions to theater. We have Sophocles, the Greek tragedian. His plays, like Antigone and Oedipus Rex, are foundational to Western drama.
They deal with those timeless themes: fate versus free will, the consequences of human pride, the conflict between individual conscience and the law.
And then we have Christopher Marlowe, a contemporary of Shakespeare. His play, Dr. Faustus, is a cautionary tale about ambition and the price of selling your soul to the devil.
Marlowe's characters are often driven by these grand passions, these desires that ultimately lead to their downfall.
And Ben Jonson, another Elizabethan playwright, was a master of satire. His play, Volpone, is a hilarious but also very dark critique of greed and corruption.
Jonson had this sharp wit, and he used it to expose the hypocrisy of his society.
Jumping ahead a few centuries, we have Anton Chekhov, the Russian playwright. His plays, like The Cherry Orchard, are known for their subtle, almost melancholic tone.
They capture the feeling of loss, the sense of a changing world, the end of an era.
And Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright, who is all about political theater. His play, Mother Courage and Her Children, is a powerful anti-war statement.
Brecht wanted to shake audiences out of their complacency, to make them think critically about the world around them.
Then we have Eugene O'Neill, the American playwright, known for his intense, often autobiographical dramas. Long Day's Journey into Night and The Iceman Cometh are both deeply personal explorations of addiction, family dysfunction, and the illusions we cling to.
O'Neill was fearless in confronting the darker side of human nature. His plays can be really tough to watch, but they're also incredibly powerful.
And Harold Pinter, the British playwright, known for his enigmatic, often unsettling plays, The Birthday Party, The Homecoming, The Caretaker, they all create this atmosphere of unease, of unspoken tension.
Pinter was a master of dialogue. He used pauses, silences to create a sense of menace, of something lurking beneath the surface.
And Jean-Paul Sartre, the French existentialist philosopher, also wrote plays. His No Exit is a classic exploration of hell as a place where we're trapped with other people, constantly judging and being judged.
It's a bleak but also very insightful look at human relationships and the burden of consciousness.
And Luigi Pirandello, the Italian playwright, known for his innovative, mind-bending plays. Six Characters in Search of an Author is a masterpiece of metatheater, blurring the lines between reality in fiction.
Pirandello makes you question the nature of identity, the role of the author, the whole process of creating and consuming art.
And Peter Shaffer, another British playwright, who explored themes of passion, obsession, and the clash between reason and emotion in plays like Equus and Amadeus.
Schaeffer's plays are often visually stunning, and they delve into these really intense psychological states.
Carol Churchill, a contemporary British playwright, known for her experimental style and her engagement with feminist and post-colonial themes in plays like Top Girls and Cloud Nine.
Churchill's work is often challenging, but it's always thought-provoking. She uses theater to explore issues of gender, power, and the legacies of colonialism.
And Athol Fugard, the South African playwright, whose plays like Master Harold and the Boys confront the injustices of apartheid.
Fugard's work is deeply personal and deeply political. It gives voice to the marginalized, to those who are silenced by oppression.
And Tony Kushner, the American playwright, whose epic Angels in America deals with the AIDS crisis, identity, faith, and American society in the late 20th century.
Angels in America is a monumental work. It's sprawling, it's ambitious, it's heartbreaking, it's funny, it's everything.
And bringing us closer to the present day, we have August Wilson, whose plays, like Fences, explore the African-American experience in America.
Wilson's work is so rich, so layered. It's about family, about race, about the American dream, about the complexities of history.
And Lorraine Hansberry, whose play A Raisin in the Sun was groundbreaking for its portrayal of a black family's struggle for dignity and opportunity in 1950s Chicago.
Hansberry's work paved the way for so many other black playwrights. It's a powerful statement about the resilience of the human spirit in the face of discrimination.
And Alan Bennett, the British playwright whose The History Boys is a witty and insightful look at education and the nature of history.
Bennett has this amazing ability to capture the nuances of human interaction, the humor and the pathos of everyday life.
And finally, Jez Betterworth, a contemporary British playwright whose play Jerusalem explores the clash between tradition and modernity in rural England.
Butterworth's work is often rooted in a specific place, but it speaks to universal themes of belonging, identity, and the search for meaning in a rapidly changing world.
So there you have it, a whirlwind tour of some of the most influential plays in English literature. From Shakespeare to Stoppard, from Sophocles to Kushner, these plays span centuries and continents, but they all share this common thread: the exploration of the human experience in all its complexity.
It's a reminder that theater has this incredible power to reflect our world, to challenge us, to make us laugh, to make us cry, to make us think.
So what does this all mean for you? What have you taken away from this deep dive?
I hope it sparked your curiosity. I hope it's made you want to go out and experience these plays for yourself, whether you read them, see them performed, or even just dip your toes into a few scenes.
That's what we're all about here, sharing the joy of stories, the power of theater, and to leave you with a little something to ponder. Think about this. If you could bring together two characters from completely different plays on this list, who would you choose, and what conversation would you like to eavesdrop on? It's a fun thought experiment that might lead you down some unexpected paths.
Who knows? You might even be inspired to write your own play. The possibilities are endless.
That's it for our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.
Until then, happy reading, happy watching, and happy thinking.